What's up, everybody? Hope you guys are all doing awesome. I don't know if anyone else is like this, but going through the build process of the bus, making sure that it's exactly how you want it, that you've designed it in a way that makes sense, and before you get too far down the road of never being able to turn back without significant expenditure, do stuff like I do and reevaluate everything and make sure it's how you wanted. When I first started out building this bus, I had a few inspiration projects, and Expedition Happiness was probably one of the first projects that I had looked at, and I'll link that down below. And I'm sure everyone's familiar with their Netflix series, but they also had a series that they did previous to that on YouTube about building the bus and the process that they went through. And it was only 6 videos, but I really liked how it turned out from a cosmetic standpoint. Now, structurally and the way it held up is not nearly what I wanted, but from a cosmetic standpoint, I really kind of liked how it finished itself out. And that to me was something that I really wanted to use as some inspiration. The other group or the other people that I had found a lot of inspiration from was Ian Robinson and V, and they were the first series I think that I watched every single episode from the beginning to the end, straight up binge watched it, and really kind of got inspired. And they gave such a great viewpoint of what it's like to build a Skoolie project. And I'll link Ian down below as well to his channel. But they did a really good job. And I just recently read an article about that he had posted about how they made something like, don't quote me on the numbers, but something like $18,000 since they turned that into an Airbnb property, and they were looking for a new space to put it. But it's pretty awesome that they could spend probably around that same amount for the bus to build it, and then in less than a year, or just right around a year, we're able to pay it off, or nearly pay it off. And again, I'm making some assumptions, but based on how much I'm spending. But it's just an interesting thing to be able to completely pay that off essentially in a year, doing Airbnb rentals, which sparked a different idea for me as well. But what I wanted to do here real quick is, when I first did this, I built a plan and built a layout of the bus. So I have a 78 passenger 1993 International. This says 36 feet. It's actually a 40 footer, and my buildable space is 34 feet. This 30 extra 2 feet is kind of the portion of up to where the front of the driver's seat is. I have a buildable 34 feet by approximately just over 7.5 feet. It's got the pop top, or the whale top is what they call it, standard, so I didn't have to do any kind of roof raise. And I loved this bus from the moment that I saw it. It was, when I saw it, I was like, that's the bus that I want. And it was in this field, and they got it stuck in this field in the winter when they were moving it around. It was filled completely with hoarder junk when I first got it. When I first started building this, I built this frame essentially of, this is what the bus is. And the way that I did this is I basically took, for every inch of the bus, I multiplied it by 4 pixels. And that's what gave me this layout and this frame that I can work on. So I marked out where my wheel wells are. In Washington, all buses are required to have an emergency door on the side. So this one has it on the left side if you're sitting in the driver's seat. And so I built this frame out. The thin gray line on the outside is to represent the inside, the inner diameter of the bus. So it's slightly wider than this, but the gray line is the inner diameter of the bus. And I started from the back, and I created the garage area. What I wanted to do with the garage area was kind of twofold. back in the back right hand corner, I wanted that to be kind of my power cabinet and then kind of have this little hallway. This was one of the things that I really loved about Expedition Happiness and the way that they had this back portion set up. Depending on how you configured it, you could have this nice little walk space as well as having this back area to store things. The next thing that I did was kind of figure out, like how big is my bed going to be and where that's going to go. So this is a queen size bed. It's 81 inches long by 61 inches wide. A queen size bed is only 80 inches by 60 inches, so it should fit on there nice, and you won't be able to really notice any that extra inch based on the way that a bed's probably going to sit on there and blankets and all that kind of stuff. I'll go into a little bit more detail about what this bed has configured in it as I go forward here. The next thing I wanted to do was I created this little bench at the foot of the bed, and the reason that I wanted this bench is because my bed's pretty high, but I didn't want to have to be out in the front portion of the bus when I'm trying to change. Most people have like a little chair or something like that in their room, in their bedroom, in their house. And for me, I just wanted to have kind of this little bench area that I could sit down, put my shoes and socks on and get dressed and just kind of be able to relax while I did that. And then the next portion was figuring out where I was going to put my laundry. Right across from it seems to be a good spot. This opening between the laundry bin and the corner of the bed is big enough to walk through pretty easily without hitting either side of those things, but it is a little bit cramped, but that's okay. That's the only spot on the bus that doesn't have ample space. The next portion of it was to figure out where I wanted my storage, and I'm an outdoorsman. I hunt and fish and shed hunt and do all those kinds of things. So the next portion was, where was I going to store everything. So I have this closet. The bottom portion of it, it's about 12 inches wide or tall, I guess you could say, by this 50 inches wide. And I can slide my bow under there, and it fits in there really nicely. All my archery equipment can kind of fit into that compartment. This back right or back left corner, I have a spot where I can put all my fishing poles and all of that stuff. And then the top, like basically 5 feet of this compartment, including the deck above this wheel well, is for being able to hang clothes and have some storage in the inside of it. So I can put my socks and underwear and things like that kind of in some little slide out compartments that are inside there, and then still be able to hang up all my clothes really easily. The one on the right side of this 34 by 22 inch one, that's really going to be used for towels, blankets, pillows, kind of extra stuff. Underneath the bed on the left hand side, about the left hand third of the bed, is actually there's 2 dresser drawers, or 2 sections for dresser drawers that have 2 drawers each, and then the back one is basically just a shelf, a 3 compartment shelf, where I can kind of stack shoes in there. Now this is where the plan that I had deviates from what I had before. I wanted it to be a little bit different, and I wanted to, especially, I'm going to show the kitchen before I show the bathroom. So this is the kitchen, and I have a full-size 25 and a half cubic foot refrigerator and freezer. So it's just a straight up home fridge, and it's rather big. And the way that I had this orientated before, I had it against this left-hand wall next to the emergency door. The problem is how far it stuck out, and then how far I had my cabinets and everything. If I needed to get it out of the area so that I could, do some work on either the plumbing or the electrical, or or say there was a spill or something like that, I couldn't actually get it out. So what I decided to do, and why I went through this reconfiguration process, is now that the fridge faces forward, I can slide it almost all the way to the front of the bus and get it out of the way in case I need to do anything to it to do the assistance of maintenance and fixing it and changing filters and all that kind of stuff. Above it will be again additional storage, And then this is where the bathroom shower is. Bathroom, you come in the bathroom and the bathtub or the toilet will be kind of right there at the front when you first walk in, and then the shower will reach itself up to where this counter is, or where the kitchen counter is. Next is the couch area. Basically, it doubles as almost as a twin size bed. It's a little bit wider than your standard couch, but when I'm lounging and relaxing, I like to have this little bit bigger width anyways. So if I'm sitting down and relaxing, I just like to have, a wider couch. So the couch is 26 inches wide, and in one of my videos you can actually see me laying on it, and the purpose of that was, can I lay flat on it without my arm falling off one side and without touching the wall on the other comfortably? And I could. So that was what I decided to do, with the couch area. Because of what I do for work, I'm a designer, and I'm working on a couple of other outdoor gear company products and things like that. I needed to have like a pretty big desk and table area that I would be able to not only have my computers, but my sewing machine and places to actually be able to cut fabric and do all that kind of stuff. So I have this really long desk and table area across from the couch, and then this media area where my printer, and I'll probably have some sort of larger screen TV. I usually have pretty big monitors as it is for my computer. Usually I have 3 monitors running at one time. So I'm not sure exactly that setup, but this cabinet essentially will be for electronics, storage, camera, charging and all that kind of stuff inside of that area. The next thing that I had to go through with is, now that I have kind of the layout of the bus and how I wanted it, I had to figure out, okay, how are we going to heat it? So this is a propane heater with an electric ignition, so you don't ever have to run like a pilot light or anything like that. It just has to have power. But I had to figure out where exactly I wanted the ducts to run and how that was going to work. So we have one duct that runs towards the back. What this doesn't show is, off of this one that goes to the rear, there's actually a duct pipe that goes down out of the bus into my under storage containers. The goal is not to keep them the same temperature as the rest of the bus, but I wanted to make sure that the gray and black water tanks weren't going to freeze. The next thing was the fresh water system, and I'll do a little bit different breakdown when I actually put this into the bus, but we've got 2 42-gallon freshwater tanks that are stored underneath the bed. So 1/3 of this is essentially kind of a dresser storage area. 1/3 of this is for our freshwater storage. And you have your main filling area. You have this outside water drain, so that's to drain those if you need to. But I also, if you're cooking outside or barbecuing, it's always nice to have water on the outside so you're not having to run back and forth inside. So this will be kind of like a little spigot. And then you have your shore water in, which pressurizes your whole system. One of the things that I did, that it doesn't call for it, but they have these little catch, SureFlow has these little catch things to make sure no debris gets inside of the water system. It really only calls for one to be right in front of the pump, so no chunks of anything get into the pump and ruin the pump. I have it in a couple of different places just to make sure that no debris gets inside of the water tank itself or inside of the pump. So when you initially fill it, it will be filtered out, at least from debris. And then when you're running the shore water, it's also filtered. And so it goes from this pump, and then there's a primer. This primer container basically just makes sure that there's always water pressure, so that the pump doesn't have to recharge the system every single time it turns on. Cold water runs into the hot water heater. One of the things that you don't want to have is there's this valve, it's a one-way valve essentially, that doesn't allow water to back up into the system. Initially, I was going to have the black and gray water tank on the opposite side by the emergency door, but my diesel tank is actually right underneath the couch, and rather than having to go through all the work of moving the diesel tank to the opposite side, I just decided we're going to use the right side of the bus for storage. The next most important thing, electric and our gas. And so purple is electric, green is the gas. So back here in the back, right near the outside water drain, I actually have a nozzle to where you can actually hook up your barbecue or something outside. And then we need gas to the hot water heater and then to the regular heater, as well as to the cooktop in the kitchen. This back apartment area is going to be where the solar system goes, where the batteries are, where my inverter is. There's a whole cabinet that I'm building back there specifically for all of this stuff. And these purple lines just denote where I'm running the wires. These little purple boxes denote where I'm going to have outlets. Now the bus already has outlets on the outside, and it also has air on the outside, but they come directly from the bus. I'm not going to do anything with the air because it's not something that's used too often. You know, in the event that something's going on, I don't want the power to be drained off of the batteries that start the motor itself. I want to make sure that it runs off of the rest of the power system just like it does in your house. And then above this cooler cabinet is where the breaker box is, and then there's kind of a cabinet that closes that off. So there's 8 plug-in spaces specifically for the desk area. There's 2 plug-in spaces for the media cabinet, all the way up to the dash, and then onto the center area of the dashboard where backup cameras and all that kind of stuff will be located. So that's kind of the breakdown of the bus. I just wanted to show that. I know a lot of people go through a really big process of trying to figure out exactly how they want their bus to look. Having it organized in a way that makes sense to you is first and foremost. Aesthetically, you can make it exactly how you want it pretty easily. It's just a matter of making sure that it's laid out how you want it. I hope this was useful. I hope you guys had a great day, and I look forward to talking to you again soon. If you have any questions, please feel free to comment, like, and subscribe to the page. Until next time.